So welcome back. In today's lecture, I am going to talk about the sensitivity equation. And main goal of sensitivity equation, or we are going to also define the sensitivity function. Suppose that I have some dynamical system, and you might have seen that inside dynamical system we have several system parameter like mass, sometime spring constant, sometime value of capacitance, inductance, and based on the type of system description, we have several system parameters. Now we are going to see that if system parameter is deviated by some amount, then what is response of that variation on the system performance. It means that solution of the dynamical system, how that is affected by the variation of the system parameter, that we are going to look in the today's lecture. Okay, and this is very important. Why we are telling very important? Suppose that if you are dealing with some RLC circuit, so we are hoping that, or we are assuming that value of resistance, inductance and capacitance is well known to me, but that is not the case. Okay, so always whenever we are specifying the parameter, at that time there exists certain kind of error, and due to that reason, that whatever parameter we are assuming inside differential equation, that is not correct. So always there is some kind of perturbation, some kind of disturbance in terms of the parameters. Okay, so let us try to see that how to measure that effect, and after that talk about the possible existence of the solution. So I have nominal state equation. Nominal state equation means I am assuming that if this parameter lambda 0 is well known to me, at that time I have unique solution. Okay, and we know that how to define unique solution. We are telling, okay, that this function ftx, now I have some extra argument, that is lambda 0, and lambda 0 either you can assume constant or time varying, that doesn't matter. So if that is when we allow some kind of error, it might possible this lambda 0 is also depending on the time, or some variation is there. So you can take physical example like this. Initially I have some kind of resistor, and as current start flowing through that resistor, then temperature is going to increase, and then this parameter, whatever value of resistance, that is going to change with respect to time. So what I mean to say, that now this vector field f is function of time x and parameter variation. Okay, so in order to talk about existence and uniqueness of solution, now I have to make sure that if this parameter is varying with respect to time, so that is piecewise continuous with respect to this, or at least continuous with respect to this parameter. So that kind of assumption I have. So after that we are assuming that if parameter lambda 0 is given to me, then at that time I have unique solution between this time interval. So I am just going to talk about the local solution, but this result can be extended for global also. So assumption is that I am assuming that this variation lambda, so lambda 0 is the nominal parameter, and lambda after the variation or actual parameter, because I have measured always the mass or capacitance or whatever constants we are measuring using some kind of instrument or some kind of experiment. So always there exists some kind of variation between actual parameter or nominal parameter. So we are telling that whatever variation, that is not much larger. So due to that reason I am assuming that is sufficiently small. And after that I have already told you that this function is continuous, or you can relax that piecewise continuous in time t, but here I am assuming that that is continuous with respect to time x and lambda. Even if you can replace piecewise, then result remains the same. Now after that what we are telling, that this function, whatever vector field that has continuous first partial derivative, it means that this is differentiable with respect to x and with respect to lambda. That kind of assumption means I am using here. And since now parameter is also changing, so now I am assuming that parameter space belongs to Rp. Okay, so I have these three assumptions about the variation of parameter. Now what happens that if I consider the variation, then you can see that my actual equation, initially my nominal equation is like this: x dot equal to f t x lambda 0. Now since this lambda 0 is varying, so my perturb equation, you can tell, in terms of parameter, that is represented like this. Okay, and what one can show, I actually skip that proof, that unique solution, and here you can see that solution is obviously depending on the lambda for all t0 to t1, that is close to the nominal solution. Okay, so what we are hoping, or if this ftx is regular means that is continuous with respect to t, x and lambda, then I can tell that, or I can give guarantee that if lambda is very close to lambda 0, then whatever solution of this equation, means perturb equation in terms of parameter, that is very close to the nominal solution. So suppose that nominal solution is like this, then we are telling that whatever perturbed solution, that is coming like this. Okay, so inside some kind of tube that is going to lie, so that is not going to deviate much, that I mean to say. Okay, now one more thing you can see here, that since I am assuming this function f that is differentiable with respect to x and lambda, then it is possible to show that whatever solution I am telling this solution, when that parameter lambda, initially vector field is function of lambda 0, now that is function of lambda. So with that perturbation I have solution. So what basically I am telling, I have initial condition xt0 and this is lambda 0, and corresponding solution I am telling xt lambda 0, and after that I have same system, and here again I have initial condition xt0 and lambda. So at that time I am defining that solution as a lambda t lambda, and if f is differentiable with respect to x and lambda, it is possible to show that is also differentiable with respect to solution, whatever solution that is going to generate, that is differentiable with respect to the lambda, near the lambda 0. So if lambda 0 is very close to lambda, then I can able to give this kind of guarantee that whatever solution that is going to generate, that is differentiable with respect to lambda. And this is very important. Why this is very important? Because here you can see that if that is not differentiable with respect to lambda, then I can not able to define the sensitivity function or sensitivity equation. Due to that reason, I have to first give guarantee that whatever solution that is going to generate, that is differentiable with respect to lambda. So let us try to prove this observation, and obviously, so assumption is that f is differentiable with respect to x and lambda, and we have to show that whatever solution that is going to generate, that is differentiable with respect to lambda near the lambda 0. So what I am going to do, I am going to write the solution. Okay, so I have equation like x dot equal to f tx, and after that lambda. So you know already that whenever I have this kind of equation, so this is differential equation, equivalently I can able to transfer as a integral equation. So same kind of things, and vice versa. So now you can see here that for this equation, what I am going to do, I am going to check that this particular x t lambda, that is the solution of this equation, that is differentiable with respect to lambda or not. We are going to check that, and we know that whatever this function f, so that is nothing but vector field, so that is already differentiable with respect to x and lambda. So that kind of assumption I have already assumed. So under that assumption I am going to now check that whatever solution that is going to come into picture, that is differentiable or not differentiable. Okay, so by simple mathematics it is possible to prove that that is differentiable with respect to lambda. So what I am going to do, I am going to differentiate this particular equation, this integral equation with respect to lambda. So dx by d lambda, so dou x by dou lambda, because this is explicit function of time also, so due to that reason partial derivative comes into picture, and I have defined that partial derivative like this. And here you can see that I have given this kind of symbol because x belongs to Rn, and after that you can see that lambda belongs to Rp. So once you are going to calculate the derivative, at that time basically we are going to calculate the Jacobian. So Jacobian matrix is represented by x lambda t lambda. Anyone has confusion on this? So now due to that reason I have represented like this. After that this is differential under the integral sign. So you can see that this t and t0 is constant with respect to lambda. Due to that reason directly that I can able to transfer that kind of differential inside the integral. So I have, since f is function of the x and x is function of this tau and lambda, due to that reason I have dou f by dou x, and after that I have dou x tau lambda by dou lambda. So that kind of things, that kind of same term whatever I have written here, that is going to appear here. And after that this function is also explicit function of lambda, so I have dou f by dou lambda, and after that d lambda by d lambda. Due to that reason unity I haven't written that. Anyone has confusion on this this particular expression, how basically this comes into picture? Anyone? So baby Diana,
Yes, sir.
are you able to understand this step? Any means whatever calculation, that is very, very simple calculation. Do you have any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay, so now what we found here, that and one more important thing, you can see that x0 is initial condition. So initial condition I am assuming that that is not function of lambda. Due to that reason what happens, that derivative of dx by d lambda, that is already 0, and due to that reason I have started from here. Now try to check this, what I am telling, that this particular function, so what I am going to do here, up to here I have just differentiate the solution with respect to lambda. Okay, and since dou f by dou x exists, dou f by dou lambda exists, and these two are differentiable, so obviously I can tell that this is also differentiable. Anyone has confusion? Solution x t lambda is differentiable with respect to delta d, because these two term always exist. Okay, and due to that reason this also ensure the differentiability of x t lambda. Now what I am going to do, I am going to differentiate this x lambda tx with respect to time, because finally I have to check the solution with respect to time only. So first we have seen the variation of the solution with respect to lambda. Now we are going to see the variation of whole things with respect to time t, because solution is function of t as well as lambda, and due to that reason I am going to take the partial derivative with respect to t. So if you take the partial derivative with respect to t, then you can see that here in this particular equation I am going to take dou by dou t. So here differentiation of the integration, that kind of things comes into picture. So differential of this definite integral, how basically we are doing, we are substituting this t at whenever tau is there, and after that dou t by dou t, so that is unity. And after that if you substitute t0, at that time dou t0 by dou t equal to 0. Due to that reason I have just this kind of term. So I hope that you are able to understand that dou by dot t, and after that this term comes into picture. So I am going to circle it with different color, this, and after that these two term comes into picture, and you can see that this term is dou f by dou x. And what I am going to do here, I am going to calculate this whole term about this x t lambda. Similarly, with respect to the solution, because this function x is function of t and lambda, due to that reason explicitly I have written, and similarly btx is dou f by dou lambda, and due to that reason I have written like this. So basically what happens now, finally, if first we check the variation with respect to lambda, and after that we are checking the variation of whole things with respect to dot t. So you can see that now what happens, that I have some kind of, again, non-autonomous kind of differential equation, but at this time what happens, if you can consider this as a some kind of a state variable, then this is linear time varying differential equation. Okay, so this is LTV equation. Now you try to see that what we are telling, that at lambda equal to lambda 0, right hand side of above equation depend only on the nominal solution xt lambda 0. So what we are telling, that if lambda is very very close to lambda 0, then in place of lambda, now I am going to substitute the lambda 0, and we are going to see the variation with respect to time in this way. So finally we will generalize everything, and after that what we are telling, that we are going to check this parameter and this parameter when lambda is very very close to lambda 0. And now what we are going to do, we are going to coin two things, that is called sensitivity function, and after that second thing, that is called sensitivity equation. So what I am going to do, I am going to check the state. So I have initial condition xt0, and after that lambda, and corresponding state that is generated, that is xt lambda. Now what we are telling, that if lambda is very very close to lambda 0, so I can replace this lambda by lambda 0, and what I am going to do now, I am going to define this as a st. Okay, so if that is very very close, then I can able to do this kind of approximation. Okay, so now what we are telling, that in this place, in place of this, you can define some quantity that is called s. Okay, and that what that quantity is basically infer, they are telling that I have some kind of function, xt is some kind of function which is the partial derivative with respect to lambda at lambda 0. Okay, so try to understand, I am telling partial derivative of solution with respect to lambda at lambda 0. Okay, so somehow we are going to see the variation of the solution about the lambda 0. Okay, anyone has confusion on this? So try to interpret this x lambda and after that t lambda 0. So what we are telling, first I will take the partial derivative with our Jacobian with respect to lambda, and after that I am going to substitute lambda 0. Same thing whatever during linearization we are doing, that we are calculating partial derivative of x1 about some state, and after that we are substituting some kind of value, linearization value. Similar kind of things I am telling here. So now this function xt is called sensitivity function, and whatever equation, this equation, whole equation is called sensitivity equation. Anyone has confusion? Anyone has confusion, then please let me know. So what is main theme of this equation? This equation is basically going to tell us that inside the system, if parameter, okay, system parameter is going to vary, then what is effect of that particular variation on the performance of system? Or you can tell that suppose inside our system I have 3 or 4 parameters. So this equation is going to tell that which parameter is very, very sensitive. Sensitive means if you change by delta, then whole solution is going to change, or solution is going to disturb a lot. Some parameter might be, even if there is a large amount, it is possible to show that variation of that parameter is not going to affect the performance of the system. So this analysis also tells us that which parameter is very, very important whenever you are going to analyze this system or design some kind of control system. Okay, this kind of analysis is also valid. What you can do, suppose you have force system. Okay, so I have force system like x dot equal to F and xu. You can take this kind of things, and after that, suppose I design some kind of control action that is function of time as well as state. So inside this, you might have seen that even if you are designing PI controller, PID controller, or any kind of controller, where in all control system we are selecting the gain. So we are going to see that if gain is varying by a small amount. Why I am telling varying? Because nowadays we are designing control based on the continuous model or something, and after that we are substituting that kind of control action using some kind of digital computer. So suppose that if you are going to enter 2, at that time 2 is not perfectly enter. It might possible value of 2 is 1.999, something like this, or 2.001, something like that. That depending on the precision or how basically numbers are going to interpreted by hardware as well as software. So always there exists some kind of variation. Okay, so if I have n number of parameter or p number of parameter, we are able to understand that which parameter we have to select very, very properly. So this kind of analysis due to that reason is very, very important. In case of, this is a story about the design. Suppose that if you are just seeing the analysis problem. Analysis problem means, suppose that you have some kind of system where several subsystems are involved. So you are able to see that if which subsystem will fail, then that affect our system a lot. Okay, suppose that nowadays people are talking about macro grid, and after that they are feeding energy from different places. So you are able to see that if some variation occur inside the wind energy or sun energy, so which is more sensitive or which is going to disturb our solution a lot. Okay, so in using this due to that reason, this analysis is very, very important. So what basically sensitivity function provide? They provide us that first order estimates of the effect of parameter variation on the solution, because what we are seeing that whenever we are defining sensitivity function, at that time we are talking the first order derivative of the solution with respect to parameter. So that is just the first order estimate. Okay, now what I am going to do, now we are going to, using this particular variation, we are also going to locate the solution. So they are used to approximate the solution when lambda is sufficiently, you can see that lambda is sufficiently close, I am writing, to the nominal solution lambda 0. So in this way, if you know the nominal solution, so most of time nominal solution, how basically we are calculating the nominal solution, because before analysis or design we are actually running some kind of program inside our computer or some kind of simulation platform. At that time I can exactly able to enter the parameter. So I am assuming at that time there is no variation of parameter, but in experimental condition what happens, that some parameter variation obviously comes into picture. So at that time you can see that this solution is known to me. After that I know I am allowing the variation. I am telling that okay, if this resistor is going to become heat, at that time resistance value is increased by 10% or 0.5%, something like that. So I know this kind of things. And ST is nothing but sensitivity function, and we know that how to calculate this ST. ST is nothing but the solution of this equation. So if I solve this equation, then that will generate ST, and from here I can able to solve that. I am able to estimate the futuristic futuristic state after the variation of this parameter lambda 0 by some general parameter lambda, and this is nothing but Taylor series approximation of the solution. General solution means when disturbance of parameter comes into picture, at that time whatever solution, that is the general solution, which is about this particular trajectory xt lambda 0. And we are going to neglect the higher order term, same like the linearization. So how basically we are calculating the sensitivity function? So basically what we are going to do, first we are going to solve the nominal state equation. It means that I have some kind of model of the system. Then what basically I am going to do, I am going to use some modeling methodology, or you can use any energy method or Lagrangian, whatever way you can use, or first principle, you can model it, and after that you can substitute the parameter, okay, lambda 0, and based on that you can calculate the solution. And after calculating the solution, you have to obviously generate the sensitivity differential equation. So for that you need this term at lambda 0 and bt lambda 0. So how basically one can get, because I know the vector field, I am going to differentiate vector field about x, and after that I am going to substitute lambda equal to lambda 0 and x equal to t into lambda 0. So basically I am linearizing about the nominal trajectory. Similar kind of things we are going to do. And finally what I am going to do, I am going to substitute this value from the above, and after that I am going to solve this equation. Okay, so solution, so I have nominal solution, and after that I have sensitivity function, and after that I can able to tell that which parameter is more responsible to disturb the performance of this system. Another way that is very, very simple, what you can do, you know that you are going to start your system at st0 equal to x0, and you have some kind of nominal parameter. What you can do, you can substitute that, and after that you can solve. And parallelly you can also write one equation x dot that contain the partial derivative of dou f by dou x at lambda equal to lambda 0. Similarly dou f by dou lambda at lambda equal to lambda 0, and you can solve these two equations simultaneously. So obviously if I have second order system, then based on the parameter, order of the whole differential equation, that is going to increase. Okay, so suppose that I have some system, I am going to take example, using example like I am going to explain. So this is example of phase lock circuit. So I am not going to tell you that what is meaning of phase lock circuit or these kind of things. You can take any equation. Either you can take some kind of converter or some kind of pendulum system. So similar kind of analysis is valid everywhere. Just you have to make sure that whatever vector field, that should be differentiable in all argument. Okay, so here I have taken the autonomous system. Time is available, then that is also okay. Not available, then that is also fine, because whatever theory I have generated from time varying system, that is obviously applicable for time invariant system. So here you can see that this differential equation, I have three parameters. So I have parameter as a c, parameter as a parameter as a b. Now what we are going to look into, that out of these three parameters, which parameter is more sensitive, means response of this system is more sensitive towards which parameter, that I am going to see. So what I am going to do, initially I look into the nominal value, and I found that nominal value of first parameter a0, that is 1, b0 that is not present, so that is 0, and c0 that is 1. Okay, now what I am going to do, I am going to substitute this parameter, and after that I am going to get the nominal system. So if you check, this equation is something again the differential equation of pendulum. Okay, so phase lock circuit, that is somehow electrical circuit that behave like pendulum. Okay, if we are going to substitute this kind of parameter. Now what I am going to do, I am going to linearize, I am going to to take dou f by dou x. Why dou f by dou x? Because in order to generate the sensitivity equation, I need the partial derivative of f with respect to x, and due to that reason I am going to take the partial derivative. So after taking partial derivative with respect to x, since I have two state, so here basically dou f1, and this is nothing but f1, and this is f2, and this is function of x1 x2 or function of one quantity, that doesn't matter for us. So dou f by dou x1 if you will do, so no x1 term is present, due to that reason this is 0. Dou f1 by dou x2, that is 1 because x2 is here. After that dou f2 by dou x1, then this kind of term comes into picture, because what we are doing, that we are taking the Jacobian of the original function, this function. Okay, so I have defined f1 and f2. So basically wrongly I am explaining using this. Okay, so what happens, this function f is general function and this is nominal system. So please forget about this equation. So I will delete it, otherwise this might be confuse you. So I have, so what I am telling, that I have some kind of equation, and after that I have equation. Okay, leave it, that is not a problem. So what I am telling, that I have this equation, that is f1 and f2, and after that I am going to linearize this about the x1, and after linearization I will get this, and again things remains the same. What you can do, you can write dou f1 by dou x2, and similarly here dou f2 by dou x1 and dou f2 by dou x2. But please take this f1 and f2 not from here, you try to take from the original equation. Okay, and after that what I have to do, now I have to calculate the partial derivative of vector field with respect to parameters. So I have three parameters. So three parameters, and due to that reason now I have dou f1 by dou a1, dou f1 by dou b, dou f1 by dou c. And if you see the differential equation, so in first equation no parameter is involved, due to that reason 0 0 everywhere. In second I have three parameters, so I have to take partial derivative with respect to a, partial derivative with respect to b, and partial derivative with respect to c, and due to that reason I have three parameters, and each and every entry actually reflected here whenever you are going to do partial derivative with respect to ABC. Now what I am going to do, now I am going to calculate the dou f by dou x about the nominal parameter also. So with respect to nominal parameter, so basically whatever I have written here initially f1 f2, so you can write now f1 and f2 dash, and after that if you do linearization, then you are going to get this kind of things. Okay, so please check it. Okay, now what I am going to do, I am going to calculate dou f by dou lambda about the nominal. Nominal means a equal to 1, b equal to 0, and c equal to 1. Then it is possible to show that we will get this kind of things. Now since I have three parameters, so variation of each parameter is going to create, since this is second order equation, so two extra state variable that comes into picture, and due to that reason you can see here that I have considered the three set of state variable, okay, inside this sensitivity function. So suppose that if I have three variable, then order is increased by 6. So if I have second order system, then 6 plus 2, that is 8th order system I have to solve in order to see the sensitivity equation. So suppose if I have 1000 parameter and third order system, then at that time I have to solve 1000. After that we have to show that what is order of equation, so that equation, and plus you have to do 2 times of the number of independent parameter. Okay, and after that you have to solve everything together, then you are able to get the sensitivity response. So this x3 is dou x by dou a, and this x4 is dou x2 by dou a. Similarly I am telling that dou x, and after that differential of dou lambda, that I have defined as a sensitivity, and this is, if that is lambda 1, then this is S1. So this whole quantity is S1, S2, S3 like that. Okay, now what I am going to do, I am going to just now write everything together. So I have, this is original nominal system by putting A equal to 1, B equal to 0, and C equal to 1. Then I will get this equation, and initial condition, whatever initial condition I have given, that I am going to substitute, and after that whatever initial condition of this sensitivity equation, that I am going to take 0 everywhere, and after that from this whatever things I have done here, so from that I am going to generate the equation, and you can see that in this differential equation similar kind of things is reflected. So I have x4 and x3 cos x1, x4 minus x2. So what you can do, you can just check it. So, and I have 3 parameters, and due to that reason I have already told you that I have 6 plus 2 equation, means 8th order equation. Okay, so in this way, if I simulate this whole 8th order equation, then we are able to check that my final solution, that is x1 and x2, that is basically final solution. So if x7 is going to vary, then what is effect, means, so by simulating all equation, and after that you are able to see the effect of the parameters on the original system by simulating these all equations. Anyone has confusion? Then please let me know. So a story is very simple. What we are going to do, we are going to see the system, and after that I am assuming that I have some kind of parameter, nominal value of parameters, and with that nominal value of parameter I have solution. After that, if my parameter is going to vary by a small amount, it is possible to show that solution is not going to deviate a much. Okay, but how much that will deviate, so one can see by doing the sensitivity analysis, or relative influence of parameter on the system performance one can evaluate using the sensitivity equation. And in this way I can able to talk about sensitivity of nonlinear differential equation, or some system governed by nonlinear differential equation. So now same theory you can apply anywhere, just you have to make sure that whenever you are going to apply the theory, so right hand side of vector field should be continuously differentiable in all argument. That you have to make sure. Okay, so if you have any confusion, then please let me know. Anyone? Rajesh, are you here? Okay, I think that mic of Rajesh is not working. Several times he wrote that. Okay, now Silpi, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do you have any confusion?
No, sir.
So why today's lecture is important? Suppose that you can design any control system, okay, or you can develop any system. It is possible to show that I can write one more paper just by doing sensitivity analysis. So most of time whenever people are simulating, or you can add one more section inside your research paper just to do sensitivity analysis. So most of time, because whenever you are going to do the sensitivity analysis, lot of space are required. Suppose if you have 12th order system and lot of parameters are involved, so due to that reason, if you learn about this, then you are also able to see that which parameter. Suppose that if you have 3 gains or 4 gains, so you have to become careful that which gain I have to change, means whenever we are going to change that gain, then we have to become specific. Okay, so particularly all that power electronic system, power system, machines, these kind of analysis is very much important. Okay, so so now if you have any question or confusion, or mathematically nothing is much more involved, just 3 assumption. After that solution you have to take the differential. After that you have to generate one kind of sensitivity function or sensitivity differential equation, and you can apply every theory. So Iram, any confusion?
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Binay, do you have any question related to this sensitivity analysis? Okay. So now this is the story about the sensitivity analysis. One more important thing that is useful for our analysis, so that is from the real analysis. So due to lack of time, I am not able to prepare the lecture for this, but try to see that, because this write-up I have downloaded from the internet, because this is the very important topic of the real analysis, and several places when you start reading the paper, then these kind of terminology frequently comes into picture, and terminology is like this. So limit superior or limit inferior, or limit supremum or limit infimum. Okay, so now I will ask some simple question. Suppose I have some kind of interval I have represented like 5 and 6, and suppose I have like this. Okay, so some quantity is going to vary between 5 to 6, and I have close bracket here and open bracket here. Okay, so Silpi, could you please tell me that what is maxima?
It is in between 5 to 6.
So maxima is going to exist or not exist. Suppose x is going to lie, I will write like this, 6. Then maxima x is varying between 5 to 6, so maxima exist or not?
Yes, sir, exists.
What? Okay, Ruchi.
Sir, it will not exist, sir, because
This is not exist because here I have open bracket. So if someone write 5.999, then I will keep 19 again. Okay, so whenever you have open bracket, then basically maxima doesn't exist. Okay, but minimum value will exist here. So at since I do not know the maxima in this case, and since 6 is not included, due to that reason I cannot tell 6 as a maxima. Due to that reason we have coined one new term, that is called supremum. Okay, so here if maxima will exist, then supremum, there is no difference between supremum and maximum. But suppose if that will not exist, then what happens, that supremum equal to maximum value, that is 6. So supremum, it might possible supremum is not going to lie inside this set. So suppose that if 5 to 6 and this is included, then here maximum is 6, that is going to one of the element inside this set, and maxima all are equal. Okay, but suppose if I have this kind of situation, then we are defining the supremum. Silpi, are you able to understand the terminology?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, suppose that if I have this kind of things. Okay, so baby Diana, could you please tell me that what is maxima, what is minima?
Sir, we cannot say because
Yeah.
both have different methods.
So now, since we cannot talk about maxima and minima, in order to talk about something like maxima and minima, now we are going to actually develop another terminology that is called infimum. Okay, and this 6th one is the supremum. Okay, anyone has confusion on this terminology? Are you able to understand this terminology? Because these kind of terminology frequently whenever you are going to read papers, book, everywhere that kind of terminology is useful. Okay, for all application people as well as those who are working in core control system. Okay, due to that reason you have to able to understand, and just this is play of terminology. So if you understood the terminology, then everything is okay. Otherwise you whenever you are seeing these kind of things, supremum, infimum, then you have confusion. Okay, now one more thing, that is sometime you might able to see that greatest lower bound or means greatest lower bound or least upper bound, something that kind of terminology is also written. Okay, so whenever, suppose that if I will write x, suppose x greater than equal to 6. Okay, so if x is greater than equal to 6, so that is equivalently that is also greater than equal to 5, greater than equal to 4, greater than equal to 2. Okay, so in that situation, could you please tell me that which terminology I have to use? Least upper bound or greatest lower bound? What kind of terminology I have to use? Iram, could you please guess?
So least upper bound.
So you can see that I have two situations. I am going to write two equations: x greater than equal to 6, x less than equal to 6. Okay, so and I am on real line, suppose. So here 6. So in one situation, what I am telling, that I have here 7, 8, 9. So x is greater than equal to 6. So all numbers. So suppose that if I am going to take some number here, so and x is greater than equal to 6, I am telling, suppose I am going to take some number here. So after that, if I will take 5 here, then this number is also greater than 5. This number is again greater than 4. So now out of this number, what do you think? Which number is larger? 4, 5, 6.
6, sir.
6 is larger. Then what kind of terminology I will use?
So greatest lower bound.
Greatest lower bound. Okay. So GLB people are writing. Similarly, that x less than equal to 6. So x less than equal to 6. At that time, we are going to write least upper bound. Anyone has confusion on this? LUB, least upper bound. So these kind of terminology people are using frequently. So I hope that you are able to understand the two terminology: supremum, infimum, greatest lower bound or least upper bound. Okay. Now I am going to talk about some other terminology, and that terminology is also very, very useful, and this kind of terminology is called the limit supremum. You can see that you know the limit. Okay, limit means we are going to tend something towards either left or right. Okay, now I want to understand the another terminology, and that terminology is the what is meaning of limit supremum or limit infimum. Okay, so before going to understand this terminology, what we are going to do, we are going to understand something. You can see that in this proposition. So these things are visible to everyone, or should I increase the front? Is it visible to everyone?
Sir, increase.
Okay. So I will try to increase it. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
So what you can see that in this proposition first, what they are telling, that A belongs to R, and suppose that A belongs to R is non-empty set. So it means that inside set I have some element. Now it is possible to show that infimum of A is either less than equal to supremum of A. So it might possible that if I have only one element inside the set, then both are equal, infimum and supremum both are equal. So equality is also okay. So anyone has confusion on this? Similarly, you can see that if A belongs to B, so I can able to write this kind of relation. Infimum of A is greater than infimum of B. Okay. So what I am telling, that element A is belongs to B. At that time I have this kind of relation, and they have proof is also obvious. Just by whatever I have told you, that GLB or greatest lower bound or least upper bound, you can apply and you are able to understand the proof. But they are telling that suppose X belongs to A. So obviously if that is belongs to A, then a infimum of x is going to lie between infimum of a or supremum of a. Okay, and due to that reason, these kind of things are obvious. Similarly, B part, A is subset of B, then supremum of B is upper bound of A, so I can write like this, and similarly I can able to write like this. Now whenever we are going to talk about this limit supremum or limit infimum, at that time basically we are going to talk about the sequences, and we have already seen that, I have already told you that whenever you are solving some kind of differential equation or something, then sequence, because what we are doing, that we can consider any sequence, finally we are able to converge to some valid sequence. Okay, so due to that reason we have to see sequence very carefully. So what we are telling that xn, so whenever I am representing sequence, at that time I am using like this. Some book they are also using this kind of notion. Okay, so xn is a bounded sequence, meaning that there exists and an m that belongs to R is real number, such that this relation will satisfy. Okay, that is the meaning of the bounded sequence. I hope that without any difficulty you are able to understand what is meaning of bounded sequence. I have already defined, and after that they are telling that I can define some sequence, that is Tn. So Yn, they have defined Yn, that is supremum of Tn. So I have sequence, so it might possibly have some supremum, and similarly I have some infimum of Tn, and it is possible to show that Zn is going to lie between these two range m. So suppose that since supremum is always, if you see I have supremum, I have infimum, so it is possible to tell that supremum of Tn or infimum of Tm, so infimum is always lesser than supremum. Anyone has confusion? And I know that this sequence is bounded between m and m. Due to that reason this relation is obvious. Okay, so what they are telling, that suppose I have Yn, so and Zn, so whenever I have bounded sequence, at that time Yn is the decreasing sequence that is bounded below by m, and Zn is the increasing sequence that is actually bounded above by m. So in this way we are defining bounded below, bounded above. Okay, so these kind of terminology also very much frequently people are using in control literature. Okay, so please try to be aware about this terminology. Okay, now try to see the second definition. Definition is that xn be a bounded sequence. So we have already defined that whenever we have some kind of bounded sequence, at that time we are able to see that if some supremum or infimum exists, then this kind of relation will satisfy. Now I am going to give some kind of definition. We are telling that supremum xn as n tending towards infinity, that is actually nothing but what you can do, you can take the sequence, and for k greater than equal to n you can take the supremum, and after that you can take the limit n tending towards infinity. Okay, then whatever value that comes into picture, that we are going to define as a limit supremum. Similarly, in order to define the limit infimum, what I am going to do, I am going to see the sequence. I will take the infimum, you know how to define the infimum, and after that again I will take limit n tending towards infinity. Okay, and what happens, that limit supremum xn equal to limit of yn, and similarly limit infimum of xn is limit of the zn. So what basically we have seen here, that whenever I have zn and yn, so this zn and yn, I want to define the limit supremum. So limit of whatever limit of y1, that is exactly equal to the limit supremum of xn. Similarly, whatever limit of zn, that is equal to limit infimum of xn, and just we have seen that they will satisfy that limit infimum of xn is equal to less than equal to supremum of xn, and if you add the limit both sides, so similar kind of property remains the true. So this is the definition. Okay, so whenever this kind of terminology comes into picture, please do not afraid about the terminology. Okay, and in next class when I will talk about the comparison lemma, at that time I am going to use frequently the limit supremum and limit infimum. So main thing of supremum or infimum is that if I have some kind of set and when maxima is not going to exist, at that time how to talk something just like the maxima. And after that one more result is like this, that limit supremum equal to limit infimum and equal to x. So then xn whatever sequence that is going to converge to accumulation point or some kind of limit point, provided this kind of condition will satisfy. Okay, and proof of this is very simple. So what happens if I have some sequence like xn, so and if that is bounded sequence, what we found that I have some kind of limit infimum after means I have some kind of infimum and I have some kind of supremum, and after that if I am allowing and tending towards infinity, so at that time what happens that this should be bounded between these two, and from this relation it is possible to show that since I am going to now talk about the limit, so I have to talk about the convergence, and since this kind of relation n greater than n, and we know that definition of convergence that yn is going to converge to x provided this kind of condition satisfy for n greater than n, and zn converge to s if that condition of satisfied. Due to that reason, and this x tending towards yn and we have just defined as a some kind of limit infimum and limit supremum. Due to that reason this kind of relation comes into picture. So convergence, whenever we are going to talk about the convergence, at that time we are just going to talk about the limit supremum or limit infimum provided we have sequences. Okay, so anyone has confusion? And Cauchy sequence I have already taught, so I am not going to discuss in today's lecture. Okay, so this part I have just talked about, give the idea of limit supremum and limit infimum. So please try to check some example of limit supremum and limit infimum by yourself. Okay, so up to here if you have any confusion, then please let me know. So in next class I am going to use these kind of notion, whatever in today's lecture, whatever I have talked about limit supremum and limit infimum. So one directional derivative whenever we are going to define, at that time we are going to take the help of these kind of notion. Okay, so what is the story of today's lecture? First we have seen the sensitivity function, and after that we have seen the some well-known definition from the real analysis, and we are able to understand that why this definition, what is the requirement of this definition, and after that when under which condition I will talk about limit supremum and limit infimum. Anyone has confusion? So due to that reason several times I am telling that please try to learn the real analysis, because real analysis is very important. Okay, so another way, first what you can do, you can see the application of real analysis, and then you try to learn, then you become more focused that okay, Banach space is applicable to me, so I will learn Banach space. Hilbert space, I know the application of Hilbert space, so I am going to read deeply like that. Okay, so you already know the application, and whenever now real analysis things comes into picture, suppose that you are going to talk about optimization, and at that time we have to talk about maxima and minima, and suppose that your maxima, similar kind of situation comes, whatever way we have seen in today's lecture, that I have some kind of interval where highest value has some kind of open interval, then I do not able to talk about maxima and minima. Then how I will talk about, suppose I have both side I have some kind of open bracket, then I cannot able to talk about maxima and minima. So is it possible to talk about the optimization problem? So these kind of questions whenever come into into your mind, then you are able to look that if maximum and minimum of something or one dimensional quantity or some kind of function which is going to lie in some interval is not exist, then how to coin some new terminology, how to understand some new terminology, and again represent or complete the result. Due to that reason, that is also very important. So with this remark, I am going to end the today's lecture.